Hi, this is Matt with Four Seasons Pest Solutions, and today we'd like to talk about rodent control and modern health concerns. Back to the 1300s, there are documented infestations of rodents which cause major health concerns and rodent control issues. Black Death of the 1300s wiped out roughly around 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia alone. The 1800s plague pandemic made its way across the world via trade routes, and it killed many as well. And of course, we don't want to forget the 1920s mouse infestation of Taft, California. There, an estimated 100 million mice ripped through the town of Taft, destroying crops and even reportedly having eaten at least one live sheep. Now, any of these major infestations that we view throughout history, what we'll find among them is one common theme. Rodents leave a wake of death and disease in their path if they're left to their own devices. Modern day rodent infestations in the US tend to be less aggressive than those that we read about in history. And of course, that's due to our advancements in technology, our advancement in civilization, modern housing. We have better hygiene practices, we have better sanitation, and we have modern rodent control techniques and modern rodent control products. If you put all these together, it's not hard to understand why we have fewer major issues now than our ancestors did. But we got to be careful and let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it does not take a large infestation to cause serious health concerns. As a matter of fact, what we see in modern infestations is less widespread and more contained. Yes, infestations do come and go, but one home at a time and one structure at a time is much more common now than in the past. In the past, rodents may infest villages and towns and entire states and countries and nations. Today, it seems to be more localized to the residence or to the structure. Now, there are many problems that we face today that our ancestors would have never imagined. These types of infestations pose serious problems that our ancestors couldn't have dreamed of. The plague obviously was a terrible thing, but isn't burning alive worse? I think so. Our ancestors of long ago didn't have electric wires in their homes. They didn't have modern conveniences and electronics. They didn't have these things. So yes, rodents still carry and they still transmit all sorts of diseases and all sorts of illnesses across the world. But here in the US, the problems they cause tend to be a little bit different. While they can and do spread diseases here, especially in poorer communities, other concerns like building fires, economic disaster, and economic loss tend to be at the forefront of rodent issues. Building fires tend to be more of a threat than disease in many cases in the US. Now, it's estimated that around 20% of all determined and undetermined structure fires are caused by rats or mice. I'm less worried about the transmission of the plague or rat bite fever at my home than I am a structure fire. Here's why. In almost all cases where serious disease resulted in high death rates caused by rodents, the rodent populations were really, really high. That truth still prevails generally today. But here's where it gets interesting. While it does take high populations of rodents generally to cause widespread disease, it only takes one mouse to burn down your entire home. Now just stop and think about that. One tiny little mouse, or one little rat, or one squirrel, that's all it takes to chew through a wire, catch the building on fire, and burn it to the ground. With that being said, rodents tend to be primarily nocturnal. What this means is they're active at night, most of us aren't. In most cases where single family structure fires cause casualties, it's at night when people are asleep. So this makes one single rodent in your home a viable and serious threat to your family that you better not overlook. Besides structure fires, what else is there? Well, modern homes have modern conveniences. Generally, they have HVAC ducting. And this raises even more issues. Now, of course, I don't want to say that they're more serious than a structure fire, but they're equally serious because not only do we now have the possible threat of diseases stemming from rodents, the possible threat of a structure fire, but we have these modern issues as well. So issues like poor crawl space conditioned air being circulated through the living quarters due to damaged ductwork. And now we're breathing, maybe from a small infestation of rodents, we're breathing in fecal debris and we're also breathing in ammonia from their urine. Now, because of this, less rodents are required to spread illnesses. Our ancestors certainly had a lot of worries when it came to rodent infestations, but the worries they had really aren't ours here in the US. The modern health concerns seem to be a little bit more important than those of a bygone era. Now, we need to concentrate on the issues which affect our health today and address those rather than those issues of that bygone era. I don't want to say it's out with the old, I just want to say it's in with the new. I've listened for 25 years to the experts in our industry repeat the same information about all the diseases and all the illnesses and all the sicknesses rodents can cause. I've studied it myself. I've parroted that same information in several lectures and articles. The information's true. It's important and it's relevant across the world. But here's the thing. It's become apparent to me that it's just quite rare for any of those illnesses to stem from the kind of infestations we see here in the US. Of course, it's not impossible, and this information does need to be propagated. Otherwise, we forget the past and allow history to be repeated. But with every year that passes, it becomes more apparent that the likelihood of an infestation of those ancient proportions is less and less likely than a structure fire or economic loss. So this caused me to do a little bit more research and to rethink what health and safety information we should be propagating to the public and what it should include. After all, information on how to care for your horse-drawn buggy is useless if you're driving a brand new Navigator. However, the information is still relevant since certain groups of people still use the horse and buggy. They may not need to know about how to operate a Navigator. So they may need that information. The information is still important. But for those of us that are driving Navigators or any other kind of vehicle, we need to know about that vehicle. Speaking of rodent fires, the possibility for rodent spread disease, of course, it's still there. We have to get that information out there. We have to have this information available to people, and it has to be something that we don't forget. We must propagate that information continually here in the US, even though it's less prevalent than at times past. We still have neighborhoods and we still have towns that are in poorer communities that have major rodent infestation or can have, and we need that information for them. But today in the US, it seems less likely that we're going to be faced with a rodent spread disease than a rodent induced structure fire. A multi-million-dollar housing project filled with sleeping occupants can be burned to the ground by one mouse. Once we realize this, it becomes less important to worry about a possible large infestation and instead focus on the effects of even a single mouse. If we eliminate an infestation of rodents before it starts, then we've implemented preventative measures, and disease and illness would never be of any concern. So, thinking all of this through, it brought rodent control and modern health concerns to a brand new perspective for me, and I hope it does for you as well. When we consider the reproductive rate of rodents, that one rodent, one female mouse, can produce upwards of 150 to 300 offspring in her 1 to 2 years, the magnitude of infestations from one mouse are magnificent. So one mouse has always been important. As a matter of fact, one mouse has always been more important than 1,000. And the reason why is because if we get rid of the one mouse, we won't have the 1,000. Concentrating on one mouse may stop a structure fire, but concentrating on one mouse may stop a humongous infestation of epic and ancient proportions. If you're experiencing rodents, noise in your attic, droppings, chew marks, or any other signs, please don't wait until they do irreparable damage. If you're a homeowner or if you have a business, don't suffer from rodent-induced fire. Don't even let it be a possibility. But also, don't let it be a possibility that the rodent infestation gets out of hand and disease could ensue. Listen, chewed wires, plumbing, destroyed ductwork, and all the damage that they can do to a structure can be in the tens of thousands of dollars. Now, most only range from around $1,000 to $6,000. And sure, that's better than death, but if we can stop death from rodent-induced fires and from disease and from illnesses from rodents and wasted money, why wouldn't we want to do that? Here's what you do. Find a professional exterminator and get a rodent control program implemented at your structure as soon as you can. You never know. Your life or the life of those you love could be at risk. But even if it isn't, your wallet could be. I'm Matt with Four Seasons Pest Solutions, and as we always say, it's okay to live among pests. You don't have to live with them.
Any pest, any season, we're the solution. At our family-owned and operated local institution.
Hey, it's Matt, Michael.
If you're dealing with an infestation and you want to turn the tide, you got Four Seasons Pest Solutions on your side.